What's up, guys? This is your boy SP Medown. I got another game for you. It is an OUU match against one of my good friends, Curse of Pokemon. So please go check him out. I will leave his channel link in the description. Now, I'm sorry for not uploading in a month, but been busy with college stuff. I'm not in college yet, however, I'm trying to get into it. I've been busy with school stuff. And on top of that, every single time I attempt to upload, I'm always at my brother's house. For some reason, it takes all day to upload a video there. And lately, for some reason, when in the middle of me uploading that, it would crash. So, you know, I've had like 5 failed attempts off of one video. This is not that video. Instead, this is a different video. So, hopefully, look, this is also a good video. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy it. Now, like I said, it's against Curse of Pokemon. It's a UU match, and once again, I apologize for not uploading in a month. So, why don't we get started with the battle? Now, my opponent Curse is I'm gonna lead off with my Mienshao. Sorry guys, a little rusty on the commentating. And Curse is gonna lead off with the Melodic. Now, overall, this isn't a bad matchup for me. However, I know I cannot OHKO this Melodic. Therefore, I'm just gonna go straight for a fake out, really to scout what type of held item it is, even though odds are it is leftovers as is revealed right now. Then I'm gonna go straight for a U-turn, just trying to get as much damage on this thing as possible, while also being able to switch out to the counter. Now, the question is Scald or Toxic. I'm gonna go out to my Rotom Cut, figuring that the Scald is going to come, and he does end up doing that. So thank God, because I was debating if I should have went out to Bisharp, and I couldn't risk the burn. Now I could have went. Now obviously Rotom Cut's also a good switch into on this Melodic, because not only does it counter, but also if you happen to go for the Toxic, you know, Rotom is meant to switch, so it's not the big deal. Now, fortunately for me, he decides to stay in on the Rotom. Maybe think he could survive a Volt Switch or a T-Bolt, but I end up going straight for a Leaf Storm, not wanting to play games, and a quick and easy 6-5 lead for me. Now he's going to send out his Zapdos, which is a huge problem, especially since I'm choice locked into that Leaf Storm, which is resisted, and I'm at -1 special attack since I'm obviously choice spec. So I'm going to switch out, go out to my Suicune, as I do predict the Heat Wave very nicely, and my Suicune's able to take that beautifully. Now at this point, because he's never really went up against my Amoga before, I figured, you know what, he's going to take the bait. He's going to go for the T-Bolts, and if he goes for the sub, oh well, not the biggest deal. So I'm going to switch out, go out to my Amoga, and luckily for me, my predictions are spot on, and he does end up going for that T-Bolts. Now that I'm at my +1 speed, I can easily encore this Zapdos into T-Bolt. Now, while I was versing, he was shocked that Amoga was doing this, because he doesn't go up against Amoga, which I don't blame him for that. You know, I believe he's more of an upper tier player, and you're not going to really see Amoga in upper tiers unless you're going up against me, and even in the lower tiers, you hardly see it. No, I'm making a nice play here. Go straight for a Baton Pass as this, decides to switch in. Yes, I call it once I call it. Now, Claydol, there we go, that's the name. I always forget its name. And I'm going to go straight for a Taunt, just because I do not want him setting up Stealth Rocks. However, he goes straight for an Earthquake, really risking that Sucker Punch. Now, at this point, I know that I might not be able to take it out with a Sucker Punch at this range of health, so I'm gonna have to switch out, back out into my Rotom Cut, really predicting the Earthquake, as he does go for that Earthquake. Now I make a very dumb play, or actually he makes a very nice play, predicting my Volt Switch, predicting him to switch out, since obviously he doesn't really want to take that Leaf Storm. Unfortunately, he stays in. Obviously, Volt Switch is ineffective, then he's able to freeze me with the Ice Beam, which really sucks, because my Rotom Cut could have been very vital in this match. So at this point, I'm going to go out into my Porygon 2, mainly because, well, I can always trace the Levitate, and basically his only attack move in the form of Earthquake can't really do much to me. Unfortunately, he is able to set up Stealth Rocks, mainly because I predicted wrongly and he predicted right. So at this point, I'm going to pull a nice double switch out into my Suicune, calling the Rhyperior switch, and luckily for me, I did that because at this point, nothing really wants to take a Surf on his team, now that the Melodic is gone. Now, if special defensive Zapdos might be able to, but since he did have Melodic on his team, I very well doubt it is special defensive. Luckily for me, he overprotects, I guess, for some reason, decides to stay in on this incoming Surf. And even though I'm defensive Suicune, that's still super effective. Suicune still has a decent special attack stat, and at the same time, it hits it 4 times for super effective. Solid Rock is not going to save it in that scenario. Now, unfortunately, Burn is whittling me down a lot, and I don't have a Chesto Berry on the Suicune, so Rust is going to be hard to pull off. Now he ends up sending out his Heracross, who at this point is still the biggest threat on his team, even though I have a Moga, which pretty much counters Heracross really well, and a Suicune, who can definitely take a close combat from this thing. You know, I just decided to select the Rotom Cut right here, since obviously it's frozen. and I wanted to be able to make sure that I can knock out this Heracross. Unfortunately, I probably should have stayed in with the Suicune, just hit it with a Surf, because then I would have had nice damage out on it, and I could have fake out the Heracross. But oh well, he does a nice play by switching out, because in all honesty, the close combat was not going to KO me. I'm max HP, max physical defense, and it's resisted. Even with that +1 Moxie boost and the fact that it's a Heracross, it would have not KO'd. He ends up going out into Zapdos, and I made a very bad prediction, predicting him to go for a substitute or something, and he goes straight for a Heat Wave. Luckily for me, it misses, and I'm able to get a nice switch out into my Porygon 2, and I'm able to trace that pressure. So at this point, I know I can take any hit from this thing, and since it's not defensive, it's definitely not carrying Toxic. As he decides to stay in, go for a Heat Wave. I'm guessing he's just trying to get a burn on me or something. However, that is not the case, and unfortunately for me, I happen to miss a Toxic. Now he's going to switch out here, knowing that I can easily just recover off the damage. As I end up doing, I should have just went straight for the Ice Beam just to get damage out on him, but I decided to play it safe. But at this point, this thing can't touch me at all, barring a Toxic. So it's really up to predictions at this point. I'm going to go down to my Juvia, predicting that Toxic, and then hopefully I'm able to hit it with a Surf. And as you see here, he ends up going straight for an Ice Beam instead of that Toxic, and doing some form of damage on my Juvia. Luckily, since I am defensive Juvia, even though I am physically defensive, it's still resisted and it does nothing for damage. Now, I'm able to hit him with a super effective Surf this turn. Unfortunately, since it is Claydol and the defensive Suicune, it doesn't even do half damage. I don't know if that was min damage, if it was max damage, but overall, that's just a testament to Claydol's bulkiness. Now, luckily for me, I happen to survive that EQ at that range of health, thanks to those physical defense investment I happen to have, and I'm able to survive the burn, so I'm able to land not one but two Surfs on this Claydol, bringing it down to a very low amount of HP, to the point where everything on my team can come in and take it out, including my Loxus, since you all know has that HP graphs. Now, at this point, I think I'm going to send in my Mienshao, mainly because I got the Regenerator, I can just U-turn and would be able to easily knock it out at that range. If I went for a high jump kick, I don't know if that would have knocked it out, so I played the safe, went straight for the U-turn. So now that this thing is gone, he's free to pretty much go out into his Heracross, which is a huge problem, because at this point I lost my Suicune, and my Loxus is at a very low amount of HP. So if he decides to send out his Heracross now, I might be able to survive a close combat, depending on what what Heracross it is. However, he ends up sending out his Zoroark, which was a nice play on his part. Even though I do predict the Sucker Punch, and I'm able to successfully encore him into that Sucker Punch. That Sucker Punch is not going to KO, but it's going to do a lot of damage. I need my Amoga with some form of HP on him, that way I can survive a close combat. So I'm going to end up sending out my Sensei with the Baton Pass, as he decides to just switch out himself, go out into his Zapdos actually, as I decided to just go straight for a U-turn, really just because it would have definitely KO'd the Zoroark, and if he went out to Heracross, it would have done some form of damage. Now, luckily for him, he did go out to Zapdos, because if he went out to Heracross, I have the Acrobatics, so I really wasn't that scared. But because of this, I'm going to go out into my Porygon 2 and successfully hit this thing with an Ice Beam and pretty much knock it out. Now, what I should have done is I should have went out into my Amoga right here and just predicted the T-Bolt, and just, you know, obviously got my Motor Drive activated, then Baton Passed, because he wouldn't have stayed in knowing I carried Encore. Fortunately, that's not what I did, and I'm able to successfully knock out that Zapdos with that Ice Beam. So at this point, my Porygon 2 will go down to a close combat from a Heracross, especially since it's super effective, and the physical defense stat on Porygon 2 isn't the best. It isn't bad, but it isn't the best. So down goes my Porygon 2, and unfortunately his Maki Boost will activate, which pretty much spells the end for me, because my Amoga's not at a high enough amount of HP to the point where I can survive a +1 close combat after rocks, and because of that, it's pretty much a good game. All I can really do is hope I can play around with Bisharp and my Mienshao, hopefully getting the game. I'm gonna have to pretty much pull off some really good predictions. Obviously, since close combat does the minus defenses, so I'm gonna end up setting out my Damage, even though Heracross completely counters my Bisharp. I can easily go for a Sucker Punch in that scenario. Unfortunately, he's going to switch out, make a nice play, predicting my Sucker Punch. What I should have done is just went for the Iron Head. It would have done a lot of damage to the Zoroark, and most likely after that Iron Head, I could have went for the Sucker Punch and KO'd. I should have went for a Sucker Punch this turn, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, and he's able to successfully knock me out with a Flamethrower. So now at this point, all I have left is my Sensei, and that's, once again, good game. Because, what am I going to do? He's just going to go for a Sucker Punch. He's going to do a lot of damage to my Sensei, unfortunately, even though it's resisted. And I'm just going to go for an Acrobatics in the off chance that he decided to go out into his Heracross, predicting the U-turn and just wanting to finish me off. So now that the Zoroark is gone, all he has left is Heracross, and like I said earlier, this pretty much spells the end because all he has to do is close combat. So that's good game, Curse of Pokemon. He's a really cool guy, guys. So please go check him out. I'm gonna leave his link in the description, like I said earlier on in the vid. I'm SP Manal, and expect more battles from me. I apologize for the late uploads, but I'm gonna be battling, I'm gonna be uploading, and trust me, it's gonna be all good. So once again, I'm SP Manal, and I'll see y'all later.